The alarm had not sounded in 800,000 years. When it finally rang through the Galactic Council chambers, most members did not even recognize the noise. Vex's Thor, the Krillian chairman, felt his three hearts skip in unison. His purple skin turned pale as he read the ancient warning scrolling across his display. Human quarantine breach detected. Impossible. Humans were gone. They had to be gone. The council chamber fell silent as the alarm continued. Zaramesh, the elderly Teluvian archivist, floated to the center of the room. Her crystalline body shimmered with concern. She had lived for 200,000 years and had studied the human problem extensively. The barrier around the Sol system has been breached, she announced. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. 3 ships are approaching our space. Vex Thor felt sick. The stories about humans were legendary. They had been too violent, too curious, too chaotic for the orderly galactic community. They refused to follow rules. They questioned everything. They took risks that endangered everyone around them. The council had voted to seal them in their home system. It was for the greater good. The barrier was supposed to be permanent, unbreakable. Humans would either learn to live peacefully in their small corner of space or destroy themselves trying to escape. Either way, the galaxy would be safe. They must have died out long ago, Counselor Thresh said. The insectoid representative clicked his mandibles nervously. This is probably just a malfunction. Oh, the sensors do not malfunction, Zaramesh replied. 3 vessels are requesting an audience with the council. They identify themselves as human. The chamber erupted in chaos. Voices in 100 different languages filled the air. Some counselors demanded immediate military action. Others suggested ignoring the transmission. A few curious souls wanted to know what humans had become after so long. Vex Thor raised his primary hand for silence. As chairman, he had responsibilities. The holographic display materialized above the council floor. 3 ships hung in the darkness of space. They were unlike anything in the council's extensive records. The vessels seemed to shift and shimmer, their surfaces moving like living skin. Organic curves blended with geometric patterns. Energy flowed through them in visible waves of light. By the ancients, someone whispered. The ships were beautiful and terrifying. They did not look like war machines, but they radiated power. The sensors could barely read them. Whatever technology humans had developed in isolation, it was far beyond anything the Council possessed. We should destroy them now, Grand Admiral Tolvar growled. The Drachnian military commander was not known for subtlety. Before they become a threat. And if we cannot? Vex Thor asked quietly. The scans suggest their shields are active. We do not know what weapons they possess. Zaramesh floated closer to the display, studying the ships with her ancient eyes. Look at the hull composition. It appears to be both metal and biological tissue. The energy signatures are impossible. They are using power sources we cannot identify. Then we are already too late for military solutions, Vex Thor said. His voice was heavy with regret. We will meet with them. Prepare a neutral station. Maximum security protocols. If they wanted to attack, they would have done so already. The vote was close. But the council agreed. 3 days later, Vex Thor found himself on a remote station waiting for the humans to arrive. His security chief, Korval, had positioned 50 warships nearby. It would not be enough if the humans were hostile, but it made everyone feel better. The human shuttle approached without weapons visible. It docked smoothly, and the airlock cycled. Vex Thor's hands trembled slightly as he waited. The door opened. 3 humans walked through. They looked mostly the same as the historical records showed. 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head. But there were differences. Their movements were too smooth, too precise. Their eyes held depth that seemed to go on forever. When they walked, reality seemed to bend slightly around them, as if they existed in more dimensions than normal beings. The lead human smiled. He was tall with dark skin and kind eyes. Chairman Vex Thor, thank you for seeing us. I am Admiral Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Kate Sullivan and Ambassador Nina Carr. His voice was warm and genuine. It threw Vex Thor off balance. He had expected anger, resentment, demands for justice. Instead, the human seemed genuinely pleased to be there. You breached the barrier, Vex Thor said, trying to maintain authority. That was forbidden, Jake nodded. Yes, we did. About 500 years ago, actually. We have been exploring since then. Learning, growing. We thought it was time to come home. Home! Korval snarled from behind Vex Thor. You were exiled. Banished. You have no home here. Kate, the scientist, stepped forward. She was smaller than Jake, with red hair and freckles. She looked human and fragile. But her eyes held the secrets of millennia. We understand you were afraid of us. We were young as a species. Reckless. We made mistakes. You endangered the entire galaxy, Vex Thor said. But his voice lacked conviction. These humans were not what he expected. Perhaps, Nina said. She was the diplomat, calm and measured. But you also did not try to understand us. You chose isolation over integration. Fear over friendship. We did what was necessary, Vex Thor insisted. Jake's smile never wavered. And we are grateful. The 800,000 years alone taught us things we could never have learned otherwise. We evolved. We grew. We became something new, he gestured. And a holographic display appeared from nowhere. Images flowed through the air. Humans merging with machines. Humans exploring dimensions beyond normal space. Humans building civilizations inside folded reality. Humans becoming more than they were. We are not here for revenge, Kate said softly. We are not here to conquer or punish. We simply want to rejoin the galactic community. As equals. As friends. If you will have us. Vex Thor stared at the images. His worst fears and greatest hopes collided in his mind. Humans had not died out. They had not remained primitive. They had become something beyond council understanding. And they were asking for permission to come back. I need time, Vex Thor said finally. The council must discuss this. You understand. This is unprecedented. Of course, Jake said. We have waited 800,000 years. We can wait a little longer. As the humans returned to their shuttle, Vex Thor watched them go. Korval moved beside him, weapons ready. Sir, they are too powerful, the security chief whispered. We cannot allow this. Vex Thor said nothing. He was thinking about the way Jake had smiled, the way Kate had spoken with kindness instead of anger, the way Nina had acknowledged the council's fear without condemning it. The humans had changed. The question was whether the council had changed enough to accept them. Deep in his heart, Vex Thor suspected the answer was no, and that terrified him more than any human weapon ever could. The emergency council session began 3 hours after the human delegation departed. Vex Thor had called for complete secrecy. No records, no observers, no transmission logs. What they discussed here could never leave the chamber. Every council member attended. That had not happened in 50,000 years. We must strike now, Tolvar said before Vex Thor could even open the session. The Grand Admiral's scales rattled with agitation. While their fleet is small. While we have a chance. A chance at what? Counselor Mira asked. The peaceful Velusian representative looked horrified. They came in peace. They asked for dialogue. They came with ships we cannot understand, using power we cannot measure. Tolvar countered. That is not peace. That is intimidation. Zaramesh projected a hologram into the center of the room. It showed the 3 human vessels in detail. I have analyzed every scan we took. The results are disturbing. The chamber fell silent. These ships appear to exist partially outside normal space-time, Zaramesh continued. Her ancient voice shook slightly. They are not simply fast or well-armed. They operate on principles our science does not recognize. In one scan, a ship was in two places simultaneously. In another, it appeared to be older than the universe itself. Impossible, someone muttered. Clearly not, Zaramesh replied. They have mastered technologies we did not know existed. Quantum consciousness, dimensional folding, temporal manipulation. 4. Vex Thor felt his stomach's churn. Can we fight them? The room turned to Tolvar. The Grand Admiral was silent for a long moment. His pride warred with his tactical sense. Finally, he spoke. No. I ran 10,000 simulations. We lose every time. Not through battle. Through irrelevance. He projected his own display. It showed scenario after scenario. In each one, human technology simply bypassed council defenses. Shields meant nothing to beings who could fold space. Weapons were useless against ships that existed in multiple dimensions. Numbers did not matter. When the enemy could be everywhere, at once, they could dismantle everything we have built without firing a single shot, Tolvar said bitterly. They could make us obsolete. They could ignore us entirely. Then, why have they not? Counselor Thresh asked. Why ask permission? Why negotiate? If they are so powerful, why not simply take what they want? The question hung in the air. Vex Thor had been wondering the same thing. Humans could have returned as conquerors. Instead, they returned as applicants. Perhaps it is a trick, Korval suggested. They want us to lower our guard. For what purpose? Vex Thor asked. If they wanted to attack, our guard means nothing. You saw the tactical analysis. We created this, Zaramesh said quietly. 800,000 years ago. We locked a young species away. Because we were afraid. We gave them time and isolation to become exactly what we feared. This is our responsibility. Are you suggesting we simply accept them? Tolvar demanded. I am suggesting we cannot stop them, Zaramesh replied. The only question is whether we face them as enemies or allies. The debate raged for hours. Some counselors wanted to fight despite the odds. Others wanted to flee to the far reaches of the galaxy. A few optimistic souls suggested actually giving humans a chance. Vex's Thor listened to it all. His people had led the vote to banish humanity. The guilt of that decision had haunted Krillian culture for millennia. Now the humans were back, and the Krillians would face the consequences. What do we actually know about them now? He asked, interrupting an argument about fortification strategies. Not about their ships or technology. About them. Who are they? The chamber fell silent. No one had an answer. They seemed kind. Counselor Mira offered tentatively. The Admiral smiled. The scientist was gentle. The diplomat was respectful. Theater. Tolvar spat. Perhaps. Vex Thor said. But consider this. They have the power to do anything they want. They chose to smile and ask nicely. What does that tell us? That they are patient, Korval said darkly. Predators can afford to be patient. Vex Thor was about to respond when an alarm sounded. A different alarm this time. This one he recognized immediately. Disaster alert. His display lit up with urgent messages. A colony world in the Tertian system was in crisis. The star was collapsing ahead of all predictions. 12 million beings lived on the planet. The evacuation fleet was 3 days away. The planet had 6 hours. By the ancients, Vex Thor whispered. They are all going to die. We need to send everything we have, Mira said, her voice breaking. Every ship, It will not be enough, Tolvar interrupted. His tactical display showed the grim mathematics. We can save perhaps 2 million. Maybe 3 million if we are fortunate. The rest will perish. The council chamber filled with grief and helplessness. Vex Thor stared at the numbers. Millions of lives, families, children, all doomed by simple cosmic bad luck and the limits of council technology. Then another alert sounded. This one was different. "Sir," Corval said, his voice strange. "The human ships are moving. All three of them. They are heading toward the Tertian system at impossible speeds." Vexthor felt ice flow through his veins. "They are taking advantage of the disaster. They will claim the system when everyone is dead." But Zaramesh was studying her sensors, her crystalline form blazing with light. "No," she whispered. "No. Look at their trajectory. They are going to help." The council watched in stunned silence as the human vessels crossed half the galaxy in minutes. They arrived at the dying Tertian system, long before any council ship could respond. And then they went to work. Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Wanderer and watched the dying star through eyes that could see in dimensions most beings could not imagine. The star was collapsing inward, gravity crushing matter into impossible density. It was beautiful and terrible. 12 million people down there, Jake said beside her. His voice was calm, but she could feel his determination. "Can we do this?" "We have to," Kate replied. "This is why we came back." Nina was already coordinating with the panicked colony below. Her consciousness extended across quantum channels, speaking to millions of beings simultaneously, calming their terror with words of hope. "Listen carefully." Nina's voice echoed across every communication device on the planet. "We are humans. We are here to help. Please remain calm and follow instructions exactly." On the planet's surface, millions of beings looked up at the sky. They saw 3 impossible ships hanging in the atmosphere, like guardian angels. The ships were growing, expanding, changing shape. Kate closed her eyes and merged with the Wanderer's consciousness. The ship was not just a vessel. It was alive. A hybrid of human thought and artificial intelligence and biological engineering. Together, they could do what no conventional technology could achieve. "Open the gates," she commanded. Reality tore open. Not explosively, not violently, gently, like curtains parting. Wormholes blossomed across the planet's surface. Stable portals connected to safe worlds, light years away. "Evacuation beginning," Jake reported. "All civilians, proceed through the nearest portal in an orderly fashion." The beings on the planet hesitated for only a moment. Then, survival instinct took over. They ran, flew, crawled toward the shimmering gates. Families clutched each other. Parents carried children. The elderly were helped by the young. The portals were wide enough for hundreds to pass through simultaneously. But even so, 12 million was 12 million. "We need more time," Nina said. Her voice showed strain. Maintaining this many stable wormholes across such distances was pushing even human limits. "The star is collapsing faster than predicted. Then we give ourselves more time," Kate said. She reached out with her mind and touched the star itself. She felt its agony as gravity crushed it inward, felt the nuclear fires dying, felt the inevitable march toward catastrophe. Human science had learned to manipulate space. They had learned to fold dimensions. And in their long isolation, they had learned something else. They had learned to convince reality to wait. Kate was not alone in this. From the other 2 ships, her colleagues joined their consciousness with hers. Sam Torres, the young engineering genius. Commander Alex Rivera, who had spent lifetimes studying temporal mechanics. Dr. Lisa Chen, who understood quantum states like others understood breathing. Together, they reached into the heart of the dying star and asked it very politely to slow down. The star listened. Time did not stop. That was impossible, even for humans. But it stretched. It bent. The collapse that should have taken minutes would now take hours. Long enough. The evacuation continued. Through Kate's extended awareness, she felt every being that passed through the portals. She felt their terror transform into hope. She felt parents reunited with children. She felt the elderly refugees weeping with relief. 12 million beings. It took 4 hours. The human ships never wavered, never faltered. When the last refugee stepped through the final portal, Kate allowed herself to breathe. The wormholes collapsed safely. The temporal field released. The star finally completed its collapse, exploding in a spectacular supernova that consumed the empty planet. But everyone was safe. Jake opened communication with the council ships that had just arrived, far too late to help. "Evacuation complete," he reported simply. "All 12 million civilians have been relocated to safe worlds with adequate resources. Medical teams are standing by. No casualties." On the council command ship, Vex's Thor stared at his displays. The numbers did not make sense. Complete evacuation in 4 hours across multiple light years, with 0 deaths. It was impossible. "How?" he whispered. Kate's voice came through his speakers, warm and kind. "We have had 800,000 years to learn. This is what we learned to do." Vex Thor watched as the human ships moved among the refugee flotilla. They were not leaving. They were distributing supplies, setting up temporary hospitals, helping beings find their families. Human crew members moved among the aliens with gentle care, offering water, food, comfort. A young Tertian child, barely old enough to walk, approached one of the human relief workers. The worker knelt down, and the child hugged her. The human hugged back, tears streaming down her face. Vex Thor felt something break inside him. These were not conquerors. These were not monsters. These were beings who had just performed a miracle out of simple compassion. Korval appeared beside him. The security chief's weapons were powered down. He looked shaken. "They saved everyone," Korval said. "They did not have to. We were ready to let millions die because we lacked the capability. They could have let us fail, proved our weakness. Instead, they saved everyone." "Yes," Vex Thor said softly. "One of their ships could destroy our entire fleet," Korval continued. "But instead, they used that power to rescue children." Vex Thor turned to his security chief. "What does that tell you?" Korval was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "It tells me we were wrong. 800,000 years ago, we were terribly, horribly wrong." Kate's voice came through again. "Chairman Vex Thor, we are going to stay here for a few days. Make sure everyone is settled. If the council needs us, we will be with the refugees." The transmission ended. Vex Thor watched the human ships hover protectively over the displaced millions. He thought about Jake's smile, Kate's gentle voice, Nina's patience. And now, this impossible act of mercy. The humans had not come back for revenge. They had not come back for conquest. They had come back because isolation was wrong. And they knew it. And in doing so, they had shown the council exactly what they had lost when they chose fear over understanding. Vex Thor made his decision. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Every member sat in their seat, watching the holographic display. It showed the Tertian refugees settling into their new temporary homes. It showed human workers helping build shelters. It showed human medical staff treating injuries with technology that seemed like magic. It showed what the council could not do. Vex Thor stood at the center of the chamber. For the first time in his long career, he felt small. "We made a mistake," he said. His voice carried to every corner of the room. 800,000 years ago. We made a terrible mistake. No one argued. The rescue at Tertian had changed everything. We were afraid, Vex Thor continued. Humanity was young, aggressive, unpredictable. They did not follow our rules. They questioned our authority. They took risks we could not understand. Zaramesh floated forward. So, we locked them away. We told ourselves it was for the greater good. We convinced ourselves we were protecting the galaxy. But we were only protecting ourselves, Counselor Mira added. Protecting our comfort, our certainty, our control. Tolvar stood, and every eye turned to the Grand Admiral. His scales were dull with shame. I advocated for their destruction. I ran simulations showing they could annihilate us. I was ready to start a war we could not win. He paused, his voice breaking. Then they saved 12 million people we could not save. They did it without hesitation, without asking for anything in return. They did it because it was right. The display changed. It showed Jake Morrison sitting with Tertian children, telling them stories to help them forget their trauma. It showed Kate Sullivan, working 18-hour shifts in the medical bays. It showed Nina Carr coordinating with council relief efforts, graciously accepting help when humans could have done it all themselves. They are not trying to replace us, Thresh said quietly. They are trying to help us. Oh, they could have come back as gods, Zaramesh said. With their technology, their power, they could have demanded worship. Instead, they came back as friends. Vex Thor took a deep breath. I propose we formally apologize to humanity for the banishment. I propose we offer them full council membership. And I propose we restructure the council itself to ensure we never again exile a species out of fear. The vote was not immediate. Some councilors still harbored doubts. Some feared the change. Some worried about losing power. Then the chamber doors opened. A Tertian delegate walked in, unannounced. She was not a councilor. She had no right to be there. But the guards let her pass. Forgive the intrusion, she said. My name is Kessa. I am a teacher from the Tertian colony. I just wanted to say something. Vex Thor nodded for her to continue. My students were on that planet, Kessa said. Her voice shook. 43 children under my care. When the alarm sounded, I knew we were going to die. The math was clear. The council could not reach us in time. Tears flowed down her face. Then the humans came. A human woman named Carla helped me get all my students through the portal. She carried the youngest ones herself. She sang to them to keep them calm. Kessa looked around the chamber. After everyone was safe, I asked her why humans helped us. Do you know what she said? Silence. She said humans spent 800,000 years alone, and they learned that isolation is the worst punishment imaginable. She said they came back because everyone deserves to be part of something bigger than themselves. She said they saved us, because that is what family does. Kessa wiped her tears. I do not care about politics or power or who controls what. I care that my students are alive. I care that humanity sees the galaxy as family. If you reject them, you reject everything good we claim to represent. She turned and left. The chamber remained silent. Vex Thor called for the vote. This time, it was unanimous. 3 days later, Jake Morrison returned to the council station. This time, he did not arrive as a petitioner. He arrived as an equal. The formal ceremony was simple. Nina Carr, designated as humanity's council representative, took her seat among the members. The human banner was raised alongside the hundreds of others. The ancient quarantine was officially dissolved, but before the ceremony ended, Vex Thor asked to speak privately with the human delegation. They met in a small room, just the 6 of them. Vex Thor, Jake, Kate, Nina, Zaramesh, and Tolvar. I need to apologize, Vex Thor said without preamble. Not officially, not politically, personally, Jake smiled gently. You were afraid. Fear makes us do things we regret. We imprisoned your entire species for 800,000 years, Vex Thor said. His voice was thick with guilt. We stunted your growth. We denied you the galaxy. You gave us the greatest gift we could have received, Kate interrupted softly. Vex's Thor stared at her. How can you say that? The isolation forced us to look inward, Kate explained. We could not explore the galaxy, so we explored ourselves. We could not meet other species, so we learned to truly understand our own. We could not rely on others, so we became self-sufficient. Nina nodded. If you had let us into the council 800,000 years ago, we would have been just another member species. Useful, perhaps. Interesting, maybe, but not unique. The banishment made us what we are, Jake said. It taught us patience. It taught us self-reliance. It taught us the value of community, because we lost it. So you forgive us? Tolvar asked, disbelief in his voice. There is nothing to forgive, Kate said. You made the best decision you could with the information you had. You were wrong, but not malicious. You feared, but did not hate. Vex's Thor felt tears well in his eyes. No, Jake said firmly. We are exactly as kind as everyone deserves. That is what we learned in our isolation. Kindness is not earned. It is given. He stood and offered his hand to Vex Thor. The Krillian looked at it, then took it. The handshake was awkward, their physiologies so different. But the meaning was clear. We are grateful for what you did, Jake said. And we are grateful for what you are doing now. Changing course takes strength. You have shown both. We will never forget what you did at Tertian, Tolvar said gruffly. My simulations said it was impossible. You did it anyway. Kate laughed. We are very good at impossible. We had 800,000 years to practice. As they left the room, Zaramesh pulled Kate aside. May I ask you something? In all your isolation, all your advancement, how did you maintain your humanity? Your compassion? Species tend to become cold as they advance. Kate thought for a moment. We remembered. Every generation told the story of the banishment. Not as a tragedy, but as a lesson. We were exiled because we were too different, too chaotic, too emotional. So we made a choice. We would advance technologically, but we would never lose our emotions, our chaos, our humanity. She smiled. We became powerful enough to destroy galaxies, but we stayed human enough to care about a single child crying. That evening, the first joint mission launched. Human and Council ships together, exploring a nebula that had been too dangerous for Council vessels alone. The crews mixed freely. Human engineers showed their Council counterparts technologies that seemed like magic. Council scientists shared 800,000 years of accumulated knowledge with humans eager to learn. On the bridge of the Wanderer, Jake Morrison watched the mixed crew working together. A Krillian and a human, laughing over a shared joke. A Teluvian, teaching a human ancient history. A Drachnian and a human competing at a strategy game. This was why they came back. Not for power. Not for revenge. For this. For connection. For family. Nina appeared beside him. It is beautiful, is it not? Yes, Jake agreed. Worth the wait. Do you think they understand yet? Nina asked. What they really did when they banished us? Jake considered the question. They are beginning to. They see us as victims who forgave. But eventually, they will understand the full truth. What truth? That the banishment did not weaken us, it created us. Without that isolation, humanity would have been ordinary. Now, we are extraordinary. They tried to diminish us, and instead gave us the space to become incredible. Nina smiled. Should we tell them? No, Jake said. Let them figure it out themselves. The realization will mean more that way. On the Council station, Vex Thor sat in his private chambers and reviewed the day's events. The human integration was proceeding smoothly. Too smoothly. They fit in perfectly, anticipated problems before they arose, helped where help was needed. Then, it hit him. The truth he had been dancing around. The Council had not done humanity a favor by accepting them back. Humanity had done the Council a favor by asking to return. With their technology, humans could have ignored the Council entirely. They could have built their own civilization, far surpassing anything the Council had achieved. They could have made the Council irrelevant. Instead, they chose to rejoin. They chose to share. They chose to lift everyone up rather than stand alone at the top. Vex Thor understood now. This was not humanity's redemption. It was the councils. The humans had not come back to regain what they lost. They came back to give the council a chance to become what it should have always been. A true union of species. Diverse and chaotic and beautiful. Not orderly and controlled and stagnant. Humanity had spent 800,000 years becoming incredible. Now, they were offering the council the same opportunity for transformation. And the council, for the first time in millennia, had the wisdom to accept. Vexthor looked out at the stars and smiled. The future was going to be very different from the past. It was going to be difficult, chaotic, unpredictable. It was going to be wonderful. Humanity was home, and the galaxy would never be the same.